Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Good or Bad, and today we're discussing Steam again. We're going to be discussing Steam refunds. Are they good? Are they bad? So we'll start off as always with the good points. So the best point about this, you have to say, is it's very good for the consumer. You have to say it's very good for us as the consumer. We spend a lot of time being crapped on. You know, we do spend a lot of time being crapped on by big companies, and also there's a lot of shovelware currently affecting Steam right now. So we'll talk about the restrictions. It does have certain restrictions. You must have owned the game for less than 14 days, and you must have less than 2 hours of playtime. So you can't just get refunds on games that you bought in the past. So again, this it's good because you can get into the game at least. You can play it for about an hour. You know, play it for an hour and a half maybe, and just, you know, see what it's like, basically. So you can tell, really, when you've got a bad game in the first sort of 10-20 minutes. And there's a lot of kind of crappy... I don't know if it applies to early access as well. I don't know if it does apply to that. So it applies to any game purchased on Steam. It has to be purchased through Steam as well. It cannot be purchased from a Steam key purchased from a third-party website. It has to actually be purchased through Steam and via the Steam store. You can use your Steam wallet as well. You can get a refund into your Steam wallet. I assume your refund will go back to your preferred payment method, PayPal or your bank card or whatever. Steam wallet is supported as well, but those are the restrictions. I don't think they're very bad restrictions. I think they need some restrictions. We'll cover that in the bad points, to be honest. We will cover that, I guess, in the bad points when we get to that point of the video. We will so yeah, it's very, very good as a consumer, because sometimes you buy a game. I should point out, you can return a game for whatever reason you want. So say you buy a game and your PC can't run it, you can return it. You know, it's any reason. You buy a game, you play it for 10 minutes, you think, this isn't working out for me, this isn't the right game for me, you can return it fairly easily. There's going to be no questions asked, essentially. So it's good for those people, you know, or even if you buy a game by mistake or something like that. So again, these kinds of things, I don't know, I've never bought a game by mistake. Or I guess if your account gets compromised and someone purchases a game on your behalf, at least it's good for those kind of reasons, as long as you're within the time limits, I guess. Then that is fine. You know, these kind of restrictions, we expect that. We can't just buy a game and then return it. So we'll get to the bad points. That's the good points, really, about it. Is it also allows us to try something new. The good point as well. We could try something for maybe an hour and say, you know what, not liking this, gonna return it. Try something out, and, you know, maybe try something new. Maybe encourage people to try a few different genres. Maybe try a new game. You know, give it a go and return it and see. You know, you got nothing to lose, really. Have a go for it for an hour. There is going to be an abuse policy, though. There is an abuse policy that's going to be in place if you do it too often. Discuss that in the bad points. So we'll get to the bad points right now. We're going to the bad points. It's bad for things like, again, small companies with really short games. If you think about it, there are games out there that can actually be beaten in 2 hours. You know, within 2 hours. So you can near complete a certain game, you know, a small indie game. Say it's available for, you know, a couple of dollars, and, you know, you can beat the game. It might only be a couple of dollars, but if you can beat the game in an hour and a half, you can just get a full refund on it. It's a free game, effectively. You've got yourself a free game out of that, because there is no restriction. So it does affect the smaller independent titles, the smaller, you know, they sell games for, like, you know, less than $5. Those guys, they may be hurt by this. It may be hurt the small independent studio. The other big negative is you will get people who'll just buy a game, play it for about 5 minutes is the minimum amount of playtime that you have to have on a game to leave a review for it. So what you'll get is people buying the game, playing it for 5 minutes, getting a refund, and then leaving a review, potentially, because there's no restrictions. You just have to have the playtime of 5 minutes on a game, and of course the playtime for the refund is 2 hours, so you might get people just downvoting games and you might get campaigns. We've seen it before. We've seen it with Metacritic. We've seen that with like people leave 1-star reviews and things like that, and they give it 1 out of 10, 1 out of 10 or whatever. They deliberately leave low reviews on things. It could be open to abuse. That's the big thing that goes against it, really. So we have to have a bit of trust there. It's gonna affect the smaller companies. The big publishers, it's not really gonna affect. It's not gonna affect your EAs and your, well, EA don't publish on Steam anyway anymore, but your Ubisofts and your Activisions and things like that, it is not going to affect them. So it's not really going to have an effect on them. The smaller to medium size, the indie guys, the guys that self-publish, I don't know if it's also available for early access. Can you get a refund on early access? Because essentially you're buying a game in development. I don't know if it applies to that. I haven't actually had a chance to take a little look at that. We'll take a little look, see if we can find the Steam refunds. I do have the page up right now. So it's going to be available on pre-orders, in-game purchases as well, DLC as well, but it doesn't say here if it's available to, it also bundles as well. So if you get banned for a game as well, you can't get a refund, like if you're banned with the Valve anti-cheat system as well. You can't get refunds on gifts as well, or movies, which makes sense, I guess, if the movie's less than 2 hours. But yeah, it doesn't say if it applies to early access or not. It'd be interesting if it did, because you are buying a game on early access that's in progress. Don't know if it applies to that. I mean, it's a purchase on Steam, so I guess it might apply, but there's nothing on the Steam-powered website that says whether or not we can get a refund on early access, because you might get a bunch of people just buy an early access game, try it out for an hour, and then, so they do have a section that is called abuse, which is only a couple of sentences long. So they said that they're designed to remove the risk, but it's not as a way of getting free games. So if you're abusing the refund system, I guess you'll be entitled to a refund. I guess you'll be like, if they'll look at how many refunds you've claimed over the past couple of weeks or months, I guess, and they'll probably look for a systematic abuse of the system, because, you know, people do abuse these systems. I used to do it. I remember in the UK we had Game used to do the 28-day return policy on any game that you purchased. I think it was any new or used game that you purchased. So what you would do is you would just use it as a rental service. You would buy a game, play it to completion within a month, and go back and get another game. You couldn't get a refund though, but you could get 2 games for the price of 1 game. You could only do it once, I think. You couldn't do it a second time, but you would get 2 games within like 2 months for the price of 1. And again, they stopped doing this. It's no coincidence that Game stopped this, because again, people like me used to abuse it. I used to go in and say, oh, I'll buy that. Oh, 28-day return policy. They changed it to a 14-day return policy, but you couldn't open the game, incidentally, so that was worse. Oh, you can't open it to try it? Ah, so there you go. So the abuse is maybe a thing that could happen with Steam. It could happen. So hopefully they get clamped down on it. But refunds overall, they're a good thing. I think they're good for us as the consumer, because it means that any game that is not properly optimized, so it means that publishers are going to have to maybe think about optimizing their games now. You know, maybe, so if it's not optimized, it doesn't run well on the PC, it's a piece of crap, I can get a refund as long as it's within 2 hours. You know, because there's a lot of crap on Steam. There is a lot of crap out there at the moment, especially with Greenlight and early access. I mean, there's just so much crappy games at the moment available on Steam. A lot of good games as well, and that's the problem, is good games tend to get buried under the crappy games. At least if we can get a refund, it kind of discourages people from just putting random junk up there on Steam. If you want to see a bunch of random junk on Steam, you should check out Jim Sterling. Check out his YouTube channel. his gameplay videos of all the crap on Steam, they are hilariously funny. I mean, if I was that guy, I'd never want to play a game again after playing some of that crap, you know. Does good work, so check him out on YouTube. It's quite funny, some of the crap that's available on Steam at the moment. So yes, getting a refund is a very, very good thing ultimately, but it is open to abuse, of course. So anyway, that is all for this video. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again soon, and goodbye.